everyone, and good morning. It's not frequent that I get invited to these kinds of events. Usually I'm more formal standing behind the podium. Thank you, Brad, right? Can I call you Brad? His nickname Brad, right? The first speaker. Rob, I'm sorry. Rob Bradshaw. I understand that most of your speakers are going to be from the air freight. Unfortunately, that's where we lack in terms of government regulations and in the law. To give you an example, air manifests are supposed to be submitted in advance to the Bureau of Customs. Unfortunately, most air freights cannot accommodate that because in a few minutes you're going to be landing here in the Philippines. So if we require you to submit your air manifest in 4 hours, but actually the entire flight only takes you 45 minutes, then there's a problem there, no? And unfortunately, there is a law, the CMTA, Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, which actually mandates everyone, including air freights, to submit their manifest in advance. And I'm still debating with some of you. Actually, I've been discussing with FedEx. Some of them are here, no? We've been discussing with some representatives of FedEx about this particular problem. So, but that's not what I'm going to discuss today. But that is also an introduction to inform you that after this, you can actually ask me any question regarding the Bureau of Customs. It doesn't have to be with regard to my presentation. Okay? So if you want to talk about port congestion, feel free. If you want to talk about air manifests, feel free to do that. I will be more than happy to oblige with as much as I can, okay? But do remember, have mercy on me, I'm the Deputy Commissioner for MIS, the Management Information System Technology Group, okay? So my knowledge of these things might be a little wanting in terms of operations of the Bureau of Customs. However, today, I would like to talk to you about a project we've been doing since last year, and it's called One Assessment. Anyone here who've already heard of One Assessment? No? Okay. Then it's a good audience. That means you're the first to hear about it. But I've been going around the Philippines since last year discussing about One Assessment. Before that, let me discuss who we are. You can't read it, no? So MISTG, that's who I'm the Deputy Commissioner for MISTG, was actually created by Executive Order number 463. Our main job is to make sure that to supervise the entire automation of the Bureau of Customs. No? So MISTG is being headed by a Deputy Commissioner, and I have 2 service directors. Don't want to discuss about this. Yeah, our mandate includes applications of information technology in accordance with international standards. The most important phrase here is to enhance systems controls in order to support a cost-effective and efficient customs operations geared toward a paperless customs environment. That's our mandate. Would you, anyone here who actually works with customs? No? Brokers or anyone who actually just goes to the Bureau of Customs? Do you know that your manifest, while they are submitted electronically, you also have to submit a 700-page copy of it to the Bureau of Customs? No? There is a department that says port. What is that? Port? PID, I forgot it's a port division, you know? Port inspection division, yeah? And you have to submit your air manifest to, your manifests, sea or air, to this particular department. The reason for that is because we still cannot authenticate the authenticity of the documents. We're trying to work on it, okay? So that's our main job. Make sure that we can develop a system that will make the entire transaction in customs paperless. Okay? Of course, being paperless doesn't only mean having an electronic system. According to the Kyoto Convention, Appendix 20, World Customs Organization, discontinue the requirement of presenting supporting documents in hard copy. This is the definition of paperless environment. If they have been already presented in electronic form. So that's what I'm saying. If you already submitted your manifests in electronic copy, you're not supposed to be submitting them again in hard copies. And that is part of the Kyoto Convention, which, by the way, the Philippines is a signatory of. since 1998. Fortunately, unfortunately, we're still not there, but we're going there. Okay? Afterwards, when I talk about one assessment, then you'll see how paperless the environment is going to be. Okay? What happened? Okay. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, one of my problems is that according to the program, you're supposed to have a break at 10:30, right? So that only gives me 15 minutes. 15 more minutes. There is a new law. Have you heard of RA Republic Act 11032? That's the Ease of Doing Business Act. Come on, guys, you're supposed to have heard of it. Ease of Doing Business Act. Okay? Magic words, 3, 5, and 30. If it's an easy transaction, you're supposed to have a response from government in 3 days. If it's a normal transaction, government must respond to you in 5 days. If it's a complicated transaction, government must respond to you in 30 days. Not respond saying, hey, we're creating a newer response, but actually resolve your issues. Because sometimes we respond like, don't worry, we're working on a better response in the next 5 days, right? And then when 5 days comes in, we're going to respond again, and we apologize for the delays, but we're actually creating a more responsive response to this particular inquiry. No, it's not like that. The Ease of Doing Business Act was promulgated just last year. According to the Republic Act 11032, zero contact policy, except for preliminary assessment, you're only supposed to have one contact to an actual person. Except for preliminary assessment, wherein you submit your documents, your documentary requirements, you're only supposed to have one contact. And what is that contact when you submitted your documents? The rest, it should be zero contact. When I was working with Smartmatic, we made a bid in Hong Kong. They have a drop box. You cannot talk to anyone. You want a bid? You submit your bid in the drop box. You're not supposed to talk to any person. That's what we want to do in the Philippine government, to minimize corruption. I'm not saying we're gonna remove corruption, but we're gonna minimize it significantly. Okay? So please get a copy of this law. This law promises that in the next 3 years, the entire government has to have zero contact policy, and the law mandated the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, to make sure that it happens within the next 3 years. And 1 year have already elapsed because this was signed in 2018. Okay? Sorry, you know the problem with LED walls. They're large, but if the letters are small, you can read it. I just want to discuss something about automation versus digitization, especially for non-technical people here. There's a difference between digitization and automation. Digitization is when you scan a document and you submit it, right? Okay. Automation is when you don't even have to scan a document. We want to go to automation. There are steps in getting there, but our ultimate goal is automation. That means it just works flawlessly. Do you have smart ref? I know you have smart TVs at home, but do you have smart refrigerators? You don't? You can actually check if somebody's already going bad in your vegetable case, even if you're in the office, if you have a smart ref. No? So that's what we want in government as well. Okay? So, let me first discuss the problem in government and what we're trying to solve. And here, I usually talk more candidly to my audience. Can I have a raise of hand of those people who doesn't understand the Filipino language? Apart from Richard, I guess. Oh, sorry, man. So we only have two, right? Three. But you really look like you're one of us. I actually look more foreign than you do. Anybody else? No? Oh, these two guys. You're speakers, right? Okay. From Banlu? Yeah, okay. I remember. Okay, then that means I have to speak in English all throughout. Effectively fighting corruption in Philippine Customs Administration through the one assessment. First, let me discuss to you the dichotomy of the corruption in the customs organization. Oops. Now, a word of advice. Corruption in a customs organization is not unique in the Philippines. J.W. Shaver, former WCO, World Customs Organization General, Secretary General, stated, there are a few public agencies in which the classic precondition for institutional corruption are so conveniently presented, okay, as in a customs administration. Why? Because there is a potent mixture of monopoly. Remember that under the law, the customs organization has the primary control over all customs port. We even have our own police. The NBI cannot go to a customs territory without telling us if they're going to inspect anything. So that monopoly is a is a hotbed for corruption. That, plus of course, the presence of human discretion. Like I said, if you are familiar with customs process, you can change your HS codes. Just by changing your HS codes, you can actually have a lower duty rate. Of course, it has to be, I know it's somewhere within the borderline of tax evasion and what do you call that? Tax evasion versus tax avoidance, right? But in customs, we call that misdeclaration. Okay. Okay? So in the Arusa Declaration, the top priority for all governments should be to ensure that customs is free of corruption. Now, there is this particular notion that corruption in customs is a victimless crime. Why? Because you, in the private sector, really does not complain about giving facilitation fee as long as your goods are facilitated properly. Of course, the customs agent who received that bribe is also happy because he received the bribe. And government still gets what is his due, right? Assuming, of course, it's just a facilitation fee and you're not actually smuggling. So there is this notion that corruption in customs and in BIR is a victimless crime. No, that is not the case. Corrupt customs will never deliver the revenue that is properly due the state. It will not be effective in the fight against illicit trafficking, and it will obstruct the growth of legitimate international trade and hinder economic development. In fact, don't be surprised, there are other multinationals. I'm not saying you guys. There are other multinationals who go through this particular facilitation fees. So corruption is two-way, government and private sector. Okay? I don't want to discuss that, but you already know who the top 3 corrupt government agencies are. Unfortunately, we're not number 1. We wanted to, but we're not, okay? We want to be on top, but we're not. Oh, you can see this, right? This is the, let me check my... Actually, this is the 2017 Corruption Performance Index, and here is the score. The Philippines is ranked number 111 in the world. There are like 180 who was scored, and the Philippines was 111. In 2016, we were in 102. So we actually fell by a few points. By the way, the lower, the better, huh? It's not the higher, the better. Okay? We're lower than Vietnam, who's now at 107, and the Maldives is at 112. Oh, here are the members of the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and which, by the way, the Philippines is a founder, one of the co-founders. We are ranked, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are ranked 5 of the ASEAN nations in the 2018 World Bank Logistics Performance Index, which rates how quickly goods come in and come out of the country. Of course, it's that survey, that index, is a combination of government regulation and how the private sector responds. And I'm sure that we're gonna have more problems in 2019 because we're having some problems with truck rotation in the ports right now because of the presence of empty containers. I'm sure you've heard of that problem, right? Okay. So the Philippines is even below Indonesia, which, by the way, we always beat. Any Indonesian here? But now they're beating us. Vietnam is now in the top 3. Of course, Singapore is the nation to beat in the ASEAN. So we're not going up. We're either stale or we're going down. Let me go through the other slides, because you cannot actually see it, you know. Now, in terms of the corruption index, like I mentioned, no, even Timor-Leste, who has a problem with peace, I think because they have a what do you call that? A rebellion. They're even above us in terms of corruption. Okay. Now, all of this states that, you know, what we found out in several of our studies is because both of these scores, the corruption index and the World Bank's Logistics Performance Index, are actually interrelated. You will notice that of the top 5, remember I showed you a chart, and we are 6th, and there are 5 nations in the ASEAN who beat us in the World Bank Logistics Performance Index, are the same nation who beat us in the corruption index. So, facilitating trade, making trade faster is actually directly correlated with minimizing corruption. And the key to that is automation. Those 5 countries also are the first countries to integrate in the ASEAN Single Window Project, which again, by the way, the Philippines is the proponent. But the Philippines is not yet transmitting in the ASEAN Single Window. We will by this year, promise. Okay? Those 5 countries also have a national single window, which the Philippines until now does not have. The Philippines was the first to present the ASEAN Single Window Dream under Deputy Commissioner Arevalo in 1998. Okay? Don't worry, there's a good story here. Huh? I'm trying to give you an emotional downtrend, and then we're going to go up again. Huh? I understand Ms. Rebecca told me that we're supposed to give good news, right? But what you've been hearing from me is a lot of bad news. So, here's part 2, customs automation as a means in fighting corruption and improving trade facilitation. Automation or computerization of the customs functions can improve efficiency, blah, 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 blah. However, here are the components. That automation must, the underlined words, minimize the opportunity for inappropriate exercise of official discretion, 1. Number 2, minimize face-to-face contact between customs personnel and clients and the physical handling and transfer of funds. Have you seen our new website, customs.gov.ph? In the next few months, we're going to give you access to all CCTVs in all ports. So you can see what is being inspected in the port, and if any customs official even went near that inspection area. Transparency is key to solving the problem of corruption. Yeah? Discontinue the requirement. I already discussed this, so I don't want to discuss that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, let me tell you that in 2016, there is a COA report. You know COA? The Commission on Audit. The Commission on Audit who makes our lives in government really, really, really miserable. No? Every year we have to talk to them and they give us bad rep for doing something. Anyways, they're a constitutional body, so we respect their mandate. COA in 2016 reported that there are close to 17,000 entries which were examined and appraised by the same customs personnel. There's supposed to be an examiner. The examiner's work is going to be checked by the principal appraiser. So your principal appraiser is your supervisor. However, it turned out 17,000 entries were examined and appraised by the same person. This particular finding was also exposed by Senator Panfilo Lacson in his speech in 2017 called Kita-Kita sa Customs. For the non-Filipino here, Kita-Kita means What's kita-kita? How do you say it in English? Huh? See you, see you? No, of course not. Kita-kita means bribery, right? Bribery, like it's a pun for bribery. Kita-kita sa customs. Of course, it could also be said that let's see each other. Kita-kita. Let's organize a meet-up. Okay? According to that speech delivered August 23, 2017, there is a connivance between the examiners, appraisers, and a middleman called a player. That middleman is not the actual importer, but he acts as if he's the importer. Come on, you know, you in the private sector, you know who they are. You want to import computers from China, but you don't have an import license. You call someone who has an import license to do anything, except, I guess, they can even import chemicals. And he will facilitate everything for you. Okay? So they're players. They arrange everything for a cost, of course. And the way they facilitate is by bribing the examiner and the appraiser. They call it suki. When you go to the marketplace and you go to the same place over and over again to buy your stuff, that's suki in Philippine parlance. Graph. Let me ask you, no? This is a graph. Would you believe that there is an appraisal that is... Can you appraise a document in less than 30 seconds? Can you read the single administrative document, which is, by the way, a long piece of bond paper, 2 pages, with about like 30 boxes in it? Can you appraise it in 30 seconds? In a computer, it's not even paper, in a computer. So you have to find the entry number, right-click, find, what's the TIN number, or what's the tax identification number of the consignee? And then when it appears, you have to read everything there, see if it's properly assessed. Can you do that in 30 seconds? No, right? But according to our computer data, it takes about that time. See? So there is a presence of what is called a suki system. They are not appraising properly. So, how do you resolve that issue? We rolled out one assessment. You know how simple this program is? It's a queuing program that automatically assigns entries to an examiner. So you cannot choose which one to examine. That easy. That easy. That simple. And I think they're going to award this in April 25, no? Another, I think it's the CIO Forum, is going to award this as one of the government's excellent innovation in 2018, this particular program. So, in November 2017, we piloted this program. At that time, we didn't call it one assessment. We just called it the Goods Declaration Verification System. My God, it's too mouthy, no? Goods Declaration Verification System. What's the acronym? GDVS. What the hell? Even the commissioner can't remember that, right? That's why we changed it to one assessment, okay? The objectives of one assessment. Oh, look, FedEx and DHL is here. Sorry, I don't have LBC in that working. I should remember to, Mikey, you should remember to have LBC here. Okay, minimize corruption by institutionalizing zero-contact policy. This system will allow you to transact with customs using your own laptop or your iPad or your Android or your Samsung Note. You don't even have to go to the customs unless you have to submit a document. Okay? To enforce accountability of brokers, brokers can backtrack all declarations. All discussions between the examiner and the broker is in a chat system that is foolproof. It cannot be deleted. The entire chat conversation is recorded. You want to tell your broker something or you want to tell your examiner something, do it via that system. Okay? Of course, the one assessment also gives you an actual status of your declaration. So you can, one of the problems in the customs is that you are guessing, why are my goods not yet released? Only to find out that it was alerted, Or it was already tagged abandoned without even you knowing it. Right? It was tagged abandoned, and how the hell did it become abandoned? Didn't you even inform me it's going to be abandoned? This system will tell you. Okay? I already informed you that it will track all transactional information. All conversations, every click will be audited. If it was assigned from an examiner to an appraiser, the system will track to which appraiser it was assigned and what the appraiser did. So that's what one assessment is all about. One assessment, in brief, is an anti-corruption system and a trade facilitation system. Before one assessment, a broker has to talk to the EPU. EPU is like the clerk, where you submit all documents. Once the EPU checks that all documents submitted are complete and are appropriate, they give it to an examiner. The examiner again calls your broker, and they discuss something, no? After that, the examiner gives all your papers to the principal appraiser. Then the principal appraiser again calls the broker. If your luck is bad for the day, you will be required to go to the ESS or the customs police to have the environmental certificate or what have you. You might even be required to go to the what is ES, Internal Assessment Service, in order to get a proper valuation of your goods, which I don't understand. Why will the principal appraiser not know how to valuate your goods in the first place? That's their job, right? So you have to go to ES. And you know where ES is? It's there in South Harbor. So if you're transacting in Batangas, that's minus 1 day. You have to go back to South Harbor and talk to ES. If you have a problem, if you're in Cebu or you are in Mindanao, then you have to call someone who is in Manila to talk to ES. So how many transactions? From 3, minimum of 3, to maximum of, no, actually it's not a maximum, to about 6. With one assessment, the broker submits the documents to the examiner. Once the examiner says you have complete documents, you go home. Or you have access to kiosks within the customs, and you just discuss everything through that computer system. That system will take care of all certifications from ESS, from ES, from X-ray. You don't need to talk to these people. Okay? Cool? It's also a queuing system. That means that now you won't wonder why the hell am I not being processed? Why are my papers not being processed? Now it will tell you you are 5th in queue. Please wait. The average queue time is 5 minutes. Or if the average queue time is 2 days, then that means if you're 5th in line, that means on the 10th day, right? But don't worry, the customs processing is now roughly about, as per our last discussions, about 2 hours for a big 40-foot container ship. 2 hours or less. Okay? So, again, one assessment is a web-based queue management software that provides bias-free assessment by randomly assigning appraisers and examiners to each goods declaration. Okay? I already discussed this. So, from the one assessment system, it will be randomly assigned within the port. Oh, by the way, we already changed this. Sorry. And then, after the examiner, it will again be assigned to another appraiser in the National Assessment Center. There will be a National Assessment Center, so there will be no connivance between the examiner and the appraiser. Okay. Let me skip that. Oh, weakness. Of course, no system is perfect, right? So let me discuss some of the weaknesses we found out during the pilot testing and which we're fixing. The weakness is that it's not connected to E2M. E2M is the electronic to mobile system, which is the core processing system of customs. FedEx knows this because I receive a lot of complaints from FedEx about slow transaction every week, right? From FedEx Philippines, I guess, through their value-added service provider. So E2M is the one assessment is not connected to E2M. Okay? So that's an issue. But don't worry because E2M is going to be replaced anyhow. I have to point it here, no? Now, where did the idea of one assessment come from? You might say, is this a novel idea from the Philippines? The answer is no. Actually, the People's Republic of China, when we went there, is practicing some sort of queuing mechanism, and so is Sierra Leone. No? Most African countries also use a variant of the one assessment. Japan also implements a similar method. Here is the China's custom. No people, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not 12, huh? It's not even break time. See? Counters are clear and they have a kiosk where you should transact. This is their queuing system. This is what we want in the Philippines. So we'll give you desks so you can transact through the computer and then check where your goods declarations are already. Okay? So yeah, that's the China customs. That's what we want in the Philippines. Of course, we just have the program. We don't have the cute and clean customs facility yet, but at least we have the program, right? We're getting there, okay? Okay, that's it. But just a few more minutes. Does one assessment really work? I guess that's a good question to ask, right? Jeff, you gave us a very good presentation, but does it really work? You might ask me, you want to ask me that question, right? Can you ask me that question? Because I want to know if you're sleeping or you're still awake. Come on, you have to ask me that question more convincingly. Does it really work, right? Okay. So we tried it out in these ports, Port of Iloilo, CDO, Cebu, Davao, Tacloban, Batangas, Subic, and Clark. Okay? And here's what we found out. Sorry. According to the stakeholders, they like it. They don't need to go to the port and make a follow-up. They can now monitor all entries, just use the broker's tax identification number. They can always run through the documents because the documents are online. So you can actually tell your examiner, no, I already submitted it. You know the usual problem with government agencies, you already submitted it, but they keep asking for it. Now they can't get away from it because you've already scanned it and it's already online. No, I already submitted it. Look online. Okay? Of course, I don't want to discuss this. Sorry, I planned for a 1 hour discussion, 1.5 hour discussion. Okay, let me give you some success stories about one assessment. Because I want to tell you it really works, right? And they're so excited. My minions are so excited. Entry number C8926P04, the first to be hit by one assessment. They're really angry. They even my name was even called out by Ted Filon in DCMM. This was among the first to be hit by one assessment. They declared 400 packages. They declared 400 packages. Packages of motorcycles. And then, because the appraiser is not in the port, the appraiser alerted it, saying that according to your load port survey, there were actually 408. So you are technically, that's technical smuggling. That's misdeclaration in terms of quantity. Okay? So, we caught it. The system caught it. Entry number 2, gross undervalue. Would you believe there is a freight on board 32-inch television set that's $6 each? Anybody here? I even told the importer, if that's $6, I'll pay $10 each. I'll buy it. Of course, he wouldn't agree, right? We caught it. The system caught it. Again, you know why we caught it? Because there is no connivance. Because the examiner and the appraiser, there is a there's now a barrier between them. And every transaction is logged, so you cannot ask for money. And you cannot choose your examiner. It is automatically being assigned. First in, first out. So you cannot choose a suki in Filipino. Number 4, 42-inch at $18 each. But there is also another horror story. A customs officer using one assessment, there are 100 conversations, is trying to delay the approval of the release of the goods. We also found it because there is a transaction lag of everything he does. So, it does work. One assessment does work. Okay? Of course, there were some delays in processing some goods during the pilot. I understand we are having some cultural changes in the Bureau. Please permit me some slack. When I talked to PCCI and FFCCPI, the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce, they said that there is some problem with regard to knowledge of some people. They said that some people are not knowledgeable in appraising certain goods because there exists in custom a sectioning where you're a specialist of some items. And we removed that with one assessment. So lack of documents, ES clearance, this is already solved. Because it's already inside one assessment. There's a discrepancy on the attached document versus the hard copy. Standard knowledge of appraisers is a big problem. In order for the system to work, all appraisers must be able to know how to appraise. I mean, if you don't know how to appraise, then no computer system can fix that, right? Late and absent appraisers. Of course, when you're trying to assign it to an appraiser and they're not there, then your goods are delayed. If you want to work in a BPO type of environment, and that's the reason why in a BPO type of environment, everybody must come on time because of the queuing system. And that's what we require of our appraisers, and that's where we have a little bit of resistance. Okay? Non-standard documentary requirement is now being fixed by our AOCG, our operations group. You go to Batangas, they'll require a different set of requirements. You go to Manila, they require a different set of requirements for the same goods. That has to be fixed. We have to standardize it in order for the computer system to work. Because computer systems wouldn't... Remember, we're trying to remove human discretion. So it has to be standard. Okay? This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to do a call center, a national assessment center. Okay? So the National Assessment Center is, I don't want to tell you, but it's in Luzon. Okay? That's it. Implementation schedule is we had a change in leadership, and the new commissioner only came in November, so he's reviewing all of these projects. So right now, one assessment is being reviewed by his team, and but it's still being piloted in Batangas. That's why we have just a month of delay in the rollout. But we believe that by this semester, we'll be able to roll it out nationwide. Yeah? So that's it. That's one assessment, and that's what Customs is doing.